We're going to go ahead and start. Feel free to keep eating or get yourself some snacks if you want, any way along the way. Matt has agreed to say our opening prayer for us, and then Laura will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we will announce the rest of the meeting. How's that?
Our dear Father in heaven, we're grateful to be here this evening. We pray for help as we discuss important matters for our neighborhoods and our cities. We pray for wisdom and friendship as we work together. And we say this in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Yes, it is. I guess I should have asked before we started if the presenters are here. Is Vern? Okay, great. And you're the first two items. Vern, come on up. Let's see, we're going to try and keep on schedule. There's an agenda in the back. We're going to try and keep this civil. No tomatoes at Vern. Yeah, if you have, I don't know if your thing requires questions or not. Chris, when Vern's done, if you just want to jump up. And then, is it Jeanie? Okay, all right.
Thank you, appreciate it. If you have questions or comments, please raise your hand, and that way we can distribute a microphone to you so people watching this live can hear your question or your comment. And then also, believe it or not, some people enjoy watching the rerun of this. They need a better hobby, but anyway, they're going to watch the rerun of this, and it really helps to speak into the microphone and hear the question and hear the comment. So I have a couple of things tonight. The first one I want to talk about is a crosswalk, and the crosswalk is located on Canyon Road, and it's up there north of the fire station, just south of the church. And it's right there in the red. And this crosswalk's been there for a long time, and we recently did some counts to take a look at how many students were using it. And it's really insufficient in the ADA standard. If you go to this west side, there's a big pine tree, and there's no ramp, there's no elevated dome there or anything for the visually impaired. It's a crosswalk that really should be removed. And we have a really nice crosswalk right here, which is just a couple hundred feet to the north, where this one has stop signs going east and west. And so we're proposing that that we eliminate this crosswalk, and it also has nice ADA standards. So let me just show you a little bit of crash data in the area. There was one crash within the area. It did not involve a pedestrian. It was a parked vehicle. And that particular crash did not result in any injuries. And I'm going to try to, and it was a snowy roadway surface by chance. And it happened at the intersection. So it hit some parked car located near the intersection, and that's what ended up happening. The crosswalk deficiencies that we have do not meet the ADA requirements on both sides, as I showed. And let me show you a couple pictures. So you can see the big pine tree over here on the west side. This is looking west. There's no slope. Even this one does not meet the ADA slope requirements of less than 5%, and it doesn't have the raised domes for the visually impaired. So we, no, that's by the church. This is 2950 here. And oh, nice to see you. I haven't seen you, Paul, in a long time. Hi there. So this one has the ADA domes, as you can see, and it meets the 5% slope, and it just really is a better crosswalk. It's safer. So our recommendation is that we go ahead and you can see relocate that to where we already have it. I wanted to show you some counts. We did counts this school year in February, and then we did it again in April. And we had nobody in the mornings, but there were students walking home in the afternoon, probably from the junior high or the elementary school. And we had, I think, 11 one time and then 12 the other times. Yes. Oh,
I'm sorry, you said counts. Where exactly?
at that crosswalk. Yes, 2875 where the crosswalk currently is. And so we take a look at that, and years ago, this used to be a reduced speed school zone, and it doesn't meet the warrants for a reduced speed school zone anymore, and it doesn't meet the warrants for a crossing guard. And so with that, and I don't know, how this crosswalk was ever put in, not meeting the ADA standards. I think it's been there a long time, right? So we just want to be safe. We want to move it down to the corner. That's the one where we've invested some concrete work to make it ADA compliant. So any comments or questions on that? Kind of looks like we got 1, 2. Yes.
Will this have flashing lights?
No, it will not have flashing lights. This one doesn't have flashing lights either.
But the new one won't?
The new one will not, because it's already existing. It's there. It's a pedestrian crosswalk. I can upgrade that to a school crosswalk, but I'm waiting to meet with Centennial Middle School and Rock Canyon Elementary before I do that, because it's got to be on their safe routes to school plan for me to do that.
So has the speed been checked there? Because there's a lot of people that speed on that, and I do cross at the 2950 a bit, and we do for church, and it's kind of scary there. So the flashing lights, as I've gone down Canyon Road, have helped a lot, I think. So
On other locations?
in other locations, yes.
Yeah.
So having flashing lights might be, because nobody really sees anybody there.
I have done the speed study. I just completed it last week. I still have the analysis to do. I looked at the speeds. I'll give you a preview. The preview, it looks like I want to place, going southbound around the curve by the fire station, our speeds are about 9 to 10 miles an hour over the speed limit. So I think I'm going to place, don't hold me to it, it's what I want to do. I want to place a your speed sign so people get driver feedback immediately so they can start braking. Okay, so it's only in the southbound direction. We don't have the speeding problem in going uphill, ironically. So it is in the southbound. And then we had another comment back here.
My question was, and you kind of answered a little bit, I just want to make sure that this 2875 North isn't designated as a safe routes to schools right now, and make sure, but it sounds like you're going to work with community councils.
Yeah, I'm
sure.
working with both Centennial and with Rock Canyon.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
I got one more over here.
I live at the next intersection north. And the problem with that crosswalk on 2875 is that it's right where the curve is by the fire station. And people come zooming around that curve, and there's not enough space to see if anybody is in the crosswalk.
You're 100% correct. I walked it yesterday. I'm plenty mature, and I had a hard time looking. I was concerned walking across, going eastbound across that same crosswalk. And so if I'm concerned as an adult, children, probably they aren't seeing them either. So yeah, they're coming around the curve. I have no idea how it got put in. So Yes.
Sorry, Vern. So I have had neighbors approach me in the past, and I feel a little bad. I didn't even know you were doing this study because I would have loved to come help. I agree. I don't know that 2875 needs a crosswalk there. I think most people are willing to walk down to 2950 if that's the direction they're headed, or if they're aware as they're coming southbound. But I've had neighbors approach me, especially when the fire station was being rebuilt, that we'd love to see like a hawk light or something at the fire station, or somewhere around there, because as people come through the park and head to Centennial, and I know we've had this discussion with the Safe Routes School thing, because it's crossing private property, we technically couldn't call that a safe route, but there's no sidewalk to get you back up to 2875.
Right.
I'd love to see a study done. And something, of course, along those lines would have to be, as you mentioned, the curve and going downhill, you'd have to almost have a pre-light like you do on a freeway that says, prepare to stop, because that button just got pushed down the hill because of the curve.
Yeah, I'm curious what you do to get rid of this when you have people that have already made it part of their habits.
Well, our observed data was that people were just walking through the church parking lot. So if they're come from that direction anyway, they don't need to take a shortcut through the private property. They can go straight to the intersection. So it's a safer location.
How do you change the habit? Because they're going to get there and it'll be gone, whatever that means, and they'll cross anyway.
Well, if it's going to be on their safe routes to school plan, then that is responsibility of the community council and the school to promote that as the right crosswalk down there at 29 or 28, 29, 50. So that's something that we could probably put up a sign right there. And I've done this on 8th North recently with a bunch of jaywalkers by the pizza place at BYU, and it says, use crosswalk, and the arrow points down to the crosswalk. So I'm happy to put that in. Yeah, I'm not sure what kind of complaints we get, but we'll try. Okay, anything else on this topic? Hey, Paul.
How does that work there by Days Market with that new crossing that you put in?
It's working pretty well. I've had a couple of, well, I'll let you know, I've had a few calls that aren't happy with it. One call was they just can't make their left turns there anymore, right? And so I tell them, hey, the speed limit on Canyon is 35. Go up to Timpview, it's 25. You can make a free right on Timpview. Making a left at 35 miles an hour on Canyon, that's tougher. So I've tried to convince them to use that, but they've been using it for years, 30, 40 years. We've had a couple of teenagers like to play with the lights, pushing the button and not crossing and just pushing the button. So we've had a little bit of enforcement issue there. But for the most part, it's been positive.
A lot of students are using it.
Yes, it warranted from the number of high school students that are coming down and going to the commercial area there for lunch. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next one. And for some reason, this isn't advancing for me, Rachel. Okay, I'll try it again. Okay. So that was the summary of what we talked about. Probably the February average is a little colder, but that's why we did it again this month in April. And the numbers really didn't change as far as the number of students using that crosswalk. So we will relocate that crosswalk to 2950 and work with the 2 schools that are involved with safe routes. You don't need that yet. I also have the end of this presentation here. Well, maybe I don't, but anyway, let's go to Timpview Drive Your Speed sign. We put up a couple of these in October, by one going northbound and one going southbound. And so we put them up in October. They became effective. We pulled up the data for the last month, the last 35 days, actually. The posted speed limit on there is 25 miles an hour. Timpview Drive is a collector street. And then 85th percentile is just a terminology. I think everybody knows what average speed is, but when I show average speed and I show 85th percentile, it means 85% of the cars or vehicles are going at that speed or lower. So here's the northbound one. The average speed was 29, but the 85th percentile was 34. The weekday average, we have about 1,000 vehicles. On the weekend at this location, it was actually higher. It's kind of funny. That doesn't always work that way. Daily vehicles is about 1,000 vehicles. And then you can see the total vehicles over the 35 days was about 36,000 vehicles. Our highest volume days are Wednesdays, and our lowest volume day is Tuesday at this location. Okay. The one up by the park, the southbound one, the average speed is 26. The 85th percentile was 33. This has lower volume because it's north of the high school. So 614 cars on the weekday average. Weekend, it goes down significantly. And then you don't have people probably going to the two schools. And then we look at the total vehicles over the 35 days was, 19, 20,000 vehicles. The highest volume was Wednesday, and the lowest volume in this area was Sunday. Kind of interesting. So that's all I have. I just wanted to report back on your speed signs. Now, that's not what I use for my speed studies and my volume studies and my traffic or crash analysis data. So when I do a full traffic study, these are really just to help drivers be aware of their speed. And it really does help conscientious drivers like us to tap the brakes and to get down to the speed that it's supposed to be. And so it's a good reminder. And that's what we'll continue to try to do on some of these areas where we're experiencing higher speeds. Every month I have a meeting with the police department, and that was today. And I just shared with them a half dozen new locations. and they're aware of those locations. And so we do take it seriously. We look at what we can do. Sometimes it's an engineering solution. Sometimes it's an enforcement solution. Sometimes it's an educational solution. And sometimes it's kind of a pure solution, right? If you live in a neighborhood where it's a destination neighborhood and not a cut-through neighborhood, then we should police ourselves. So anyway, that's my information. Anybody else have any more comments or questions? Yeah.
Vern, do you have comparison data from before of driver behavior and then after the signs were installed?
I do not. I will look and see if I had some old Timpview studies before I got here, and I can take a look and see what the average speeds were. But I prefer to actually use my equipment and not the radar speeds. I think
I can tell you that it's effective in changing my behavior.
Great,
So-
great.
So
I
just
think
one
for most
success rate.
conscientious drivers, it will let us say, oh, geez, I need to slow down here.
How expensive are those signs? Because they do seem to be effective, and wondering cost wise.
Oh, about $3,600. Yeah, and then we install them. So if there's a neighborhood that gets a neighborhood grant or something like that, which some signs have been installed, that's what we do. The Canyon Road one over by the fire station, I'm putting in. I don't need a grant for that. I have one in stock. I'm just going to do it. And it's going to be the southbound. So when you see it, look, yes, you'll probably have to slow down, right? So anyway, yes.
I think you're the right guy to update everybody in this group about the UDOT speed changes on University. And this is a group that would benefit from hearing that before it actually changes and they're surprised.
Okay. So we had some requests for reduced speed on North University Avenue. I took it to UDOT. UDOT did the speed study. I'm going to tell you the 85th percentile was above 55 miles an hour. It was pretty high. So what they decided to do is they decided to take a different approach and look at the number of accesses that we have along University Avenue from University Parkway. So by BYU in the state, all the way up to the canyon, mouth of the canyon. And they came back and said, hey, with the number of accesses and the new light that we're putting in, do you know about the new light at 5600 North that we're designing? So UDOT's designing a new traffic light at 5600 North. So with those factors, I just got approval officially today that the segment that is 45 miles an hour will be lowered to 40, and the segment that is 55 will be lowered to, no, it's 50, it will be lowered to 45. Okay, so that's really good news. We have some write-ins, write-outs that scare the heck out of me when people don't obey them. They try to do weird half U-turns, and anyway, so the speed limit is going to drop by 5 miles an hour from basically the clubhouse signal all the way up to the mouth of the canyon. And then there was a brand new sign put in. The old one was losing its retroreflectivity, and that one said, engine brakes prohibited next 7 miles. So that sign has been moved closer to the canyon, and it's bigger, and it's new. And so hopefully we have fewer engine brakes being used as they come out of Provo Canyon. Okay, appreciate that. Anything else? Yes, we got 2 more. Do we get a microphone?
My kids go to school on that street at Walden School, and that traffic is high. They're going 60 miles an hour, everybody back and forth. Can you put in flashing lights on that too, or get some more policemen on that street? Because I think, like, you put up the signs, I think everyone's going to ignore them for quite a while.
Are you talking about University Avenue?
University Avenue, yes.
Yeah, there's no possibility of flashing lights on University Avenue. It's
So
a state
how will
facility.
that be, like, will there be more police cars on there to enforce this for a while to get people trained that speed's down?
I just broke the news to our police department today that when the signs are up, they can start enforcing the new speed limit. And I just got approval from UDOT, official approval this afternoon. So this is hot off the press.
Great. Because I will pull out of Walden School and they're going 60 clear up to Riverside.
I know, that's why the 85th percentile showed that it was above 55 miles an hour. And then we had a gentleman right back there.
Yeah, just on that, going back to that stoplight at 5600 North,
Mhm.
is that pretty far along in design? And can you tell us more about that? Because some of the people in the neighborhood I live in are really concerned about Canyon Road losing that drop down into University Avenue.
UDOT's going to have to hold a public meeting on that. And it's a very, very preliminary design. In fact, they're just going to have to hold a public meeting on that because there will be some restrictions until the full movement is allowed. So yeah, it's going to affect that. I think their traffic study showed 2 cars that came down and made a left out of there. 2 cars during the peak hours. So they can come up and go south to Foothill and then take the new road down to University Avenue. But I'll let them convince you of that. That's not my job, right? That's a UDOT facility. I'll let them hold that open house. Okay, anything else? I think you got a lot of business tonight. I don't want to hog the meeting.
Hey, Chris, cool Chris, I heard is next.
You got it now. Thank you. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Blinzinger. I'm the Provo City Emergency Manager. And I've got just a couple of minutes here, but I wanted to talk to you about our emergency notification system. I left some cards on the table back there. This is a countywide system that you register for, and it allows you to receive emergency messages. We don't send them very often, but it puts you in our contact list, and you put a phone number, you put an address, and the reason we need that information is we will text you the message or call you the message. And if you put your address, if we've got some kind of protective action, lost child, we can draw a map, and whoever is registered within the box of the map gets the message. And we don't use it for advertising or promoting. It's protective actions, emergency information only. So I left some cards back there on the table. There's a QR code on there you could scan with your phone. Now, you can even register if you've got a family member that lives in another town in the county. You can put an address in there for that person in case you want to be notified of emergencies or emergency communications protective actions for that family member in another town in the county. This is a countywide system. We manage it through our dispatch center here in Provo for Provo residents. And I encourage you to sign up for that. We don't have, I won't even ask how many people still have a landline, but we don't have a phone book of cell phone information. So we cannot just import it from another source. So I encourage you to sign up for that emergency notification. Has anyone heard of the Great Shakeout exercise? That's coming up April 18th. I would encourage you to sign up for that or do something preparedness minded in your home. Maybe cook a meal that's in your food storage for the night or for the weekend, or take some of your stored water off the shelf and use it for drinking or washing. I encourage you to do something preparedness minded because we live in a pretty safe place here in Provo. There was a presidentially declared disaster last year for the flooding incident here in Utah. There are 3 jurisdictions in Utah County who are part of that declaration who suffered damages. It totals about $15 million, and they're working with FEMA to be reimbursed. But we're so fortunate for the protective actions that Public Works and the public that were feeling sandbags. Were any of you feeling sandbags last year? It was a wonderful show of community support and preparedness actions by our Public Works Department, and a lot of other departments were working on protective actions, and that's what One Provo is all about. That's what we're doing to work together to mitigate and to avoid those problems. We live in a very safe place. So I would encourage you to take some of those preparedness actions on the shakeout. That's next Thursday, the 18th, I believe. Oh, it's tomorrow. Wow. Anyway, the third thing I want to mention, and this goes to when there's an emergency or a disruption in your neighborhood, please check on your neighbors. Get to know your neighbors. Please don't drive across the other side of the neighborhood to check on somebody you've been assigned to. How about you check on the people across the street or next door before you do go across the neighborhood to check on someone else? We don't know how many people we're driving past that could need help. If the power's out, if there's some other emergency, please get to know your neighbors, check on your neighbors. Make that part of your practice as well as anyone you might be assigned to on the other side of the neighborhood. That's all I have for you. Any questions? Thank you for your time.
Rachel, is this the controller up here? Okay, awesome. Just want to make sure I know how to use everything. I'm going to stand over here so I'm not in the way. Hey, well, good evening, everyone. I'm Captain Jeanie Atherton with Provo Fire and Rescue, and I'm here to talk to you tonight about our defensible space and our Wildland Urban Interface program. And this is a program that I've been in charge of for the last 2 seasons. And this is the exact group of Provo residents that I'd like to talk to because the area of Northeast Provo is probably one of our highest risk areas that we have. So this is kind of a brief synopsis of our program. And if you're interested in more information, my contact information is available at the end. And Rachel will also email it out so we can have more conversations about how our program can help your community. Let's see. So first off, we're going to discuss what is the Wildland Urban Interface. It's a term that some of you may or may not be familiar with. And also, what is defensible space and why do we need defensible space? And what that is and how we can help with that. So first off, the Wildland Urban Interface is an area of transition between unoccupied land and human development. So a lot of the areas in the Northeast Hills, we have large neighborhoods that are above and below hillsides that are covered with scrub oak, cheatgrass, stuff like that. If you've seen the east side of Provo, that's exactly what that is. And these are photos taken directly from there. So it's also an area or zone where structures and other human development meet or intermingle with undeveloped wildland or vegetative fuels. The problem with these areas is they're really nice to look at and they're really green during the spring months in May, but by the time June and July roll around, a lot of that grass goes dormant. It becomes a huge fire hazard. And most of these areas of Provo were developed 50 plus years ago, so nothing has been done to contain the growth of these fuels for the last 40 or 50 or 60 years. So one thing we do is we try to get residents to go in and do mitigation work. So this area right here, this is looking from Quail Valley, HOA, Little Rock Drive over into, this would be Mountain Ridge Road Drive right here. So this home did a bunch of mitigation work, and you can see they've got a bunch of cleared fuel down below their house, whereas this home over here has not. So this was what it looked like before. And one thing that's concerning is this scrub oak goes right up underneath the deck of this home. So if a fire, this draw right here is right behind Timpview High School. So wildfires, they kind of work like chimneys when they get into these draws. Same thing, the fire spreads upward as it gets hotter, and the fire spreads up into these areas. So by having this area cleared below this home, this buys us time to get in and try to get that fire put out.
That's private property.
Yes, so that's a good question. So this fence right here, this property in the Timpview Draw is actually owned by the Quail Valley HOA, and this is where the property line is. So we're asking residents in these areas to look at where their property lines are and work around their home, around where their property line is, to create defensible space around your home. So that's the hard thing, is that there's multiple parties involved in this. So one resident doing work is great, but if we can get HOAs involved, if we can get multiple residents involved, then that just increases the safety of everybody in the community. And I have a video that will explain that a lot better than I can. We'll get to that shortly. So this is basically what we talk about when we're talking about defensible space. What it is it's a zone around your house where you have systematically removed fuels within the first 5 feet of your house, within 5 to 30 feet from your house, and within 30 feet to 70 feet from your house. So we're going out 100 feet total from your home to create a defensible space around your home. And I'm not going to get into too many details of how to do this, because we offer free home assessments. And what I would like to do is myself or someone from my seasonal fuels crew will come out and we will walk you through this. We will walk your whole property. We will look at your house itself and give you an evaluation of what you can do to make your property and your home more safe. Yes, question.
Is that only for people that would be considered on the hillside, or is that for anybody in?
Anybody in that area of Provo that would like it done, they can request a home assessment. The reason being, and this video I'm going to show explains that wildfires, people think that a big wall of flame comes in and starts taking out homes. That's the old philosophy. What happens now is these fires actually throw off embers, and given the right wind conditions, those embers can travel up to 5 miles. So several years ago, when we had the range fire in Orem, that was on the front face of Timpanogos, had the wind shifted and it had gotten into fuels that created large embers, those easily could have been transferred over into our city. So any resident needs to have defensible space around their home. So that's a great question. We want everybody to do this. Yes. Let her get the microphone for you.
I have a question about
Yes,
the
let's go
previous
back there.
slide.
Okay.
The fence looks like it's chain link. How does that stop fire?
It doesn't. That's just showing the property line. Yeah. That's just showing where the property line is. And it really won't help slow a fire from progressing up through that property. Okay, so this next slide is going to be the video I want you to, it's about 2 minutes long. It really explains why this isn't just a single residential home problem. This is a community action that as more residents get involved, it overall will increase the safety of the entire community. Can we turn the volume up a little bit? Is there a way to turn it up a little? Oh, here, we can maybe put the mix to it and then maybe restart it and see.
Land on your roof, in your leaf-filled gutters, sucked into attic venting, or ignite hedges, wood piles, or outbuildings.
There we go.
Let's say a wildfire is burning in a nearby forest or shrub steppe and is now racing towards your community. You might be thinking that as long as your house isn't on the edge of town, you don't have to worry much about it. But the reality is everyone who lives in this community is at risk. And here's why. First, it's not the wall of flames from the wildfire that's most likely to threaten your home. It's the millions of embers that are carried on the wind that are your main concern. High winds can actually drive these burning embers up to 5 miles ahead of the flames. They can then land on your roof, in your leaf-filled gutters, sucked into attic venting, or ignite hedges, wood piles, or outbuildings near your home. Secondly, there's a whole lot of fuel for fire in a house, and when houses do catch on fire, they can send flames up to 70 feet or more in the air, making even more embers that spread fire throughout the community. In densely built neighborhoods, fire can quickly spread from house to house or leapfrog to other neighborhoods. How do you go about suppressing this kind of fire? So even if your neighbors have done everything they can to prepare and protect their home, what you do or don't do around your home and property directly impacts them and the rest of your neighborhood. We're all in this together, and we're only as strong as our weakest link. The only way to prepare for wildfires is to work together as a community and get everyone's property ready to go long before the fire starts. And once we're ready, we've got to stay ready.
Okay. So that really kind of drives home the need for this. We want everybody to create defensible space around their home, no matter where they live. But if you live in an area like Little Rock Drive, any of those, Dover Lane, Osmond Lane, those areas that are above, below, adjacent to those hillsides, we really want you to get involved in our community mitigation program and do some of that work to create the defensible space around your home. Because as you've seen, it takes more than just 1 or 2 residents doing the work. Our goal is to get in and systematically, this is a program that will be around long after I'm gone. And it's a program that once you start, it requires continued upkeep. And that's why we offer this program year to year. So what we do is we offer a community chipping program. So you remove the fuels from your yard, the scrub oak, trees that are too close to your home, you cut them, you stack them, you put them out in front of your home. And these are for the residents that live in these urban interface areas. And then our crew comes through, chips that material and takes it down to the green waste dump where it can be turned into compost. So I show this photo because this was a great photo that actually saved our city a lot of money. This is the Bonneville Shoreline Trail just south of Rock Canyon. And it's kind of hard to see, but all this cheatgrass is about 3 feet tall. Our seasonal fuels crew had gone in and they will trim about 6 to 10 feet on either side of this trail from Rock Canyon down to Slate Canyon. Because if fires start spreading up the hill into the National Forest area, This trail becomes our last line of defense before it gets up into the steep slopes on Y Mountain by Rock Canyon, where if a fire gets into there, it's going to be $1 million fire, because now we're calling in air resources, we're calling in Utah County Fire, we're calling in state resources to come help this fire. So this fire occurred 2 years ago from a glitch in the power line, and having all this grass trimmed right here actually bought us enough time to get our wildland fire crews into this area and stop this fire before it ran the hillside. So this is just a good representation of why you need to do the work around your home, because it buys us time to get in there, and it actually creates a safer environment for our fire crews. So if you would like more information, if you would like a home assessment, you can scan this QR code. It's just a simple Google form that will have you fill in your contact information. There's a yes or no question as to whether or not you want a home assessment. Please put in any comments or questions you have, and I will get back to you. Rachel also has a link to this that she's going to send out in a follow-up email. So if you're not able to scan this and do this tonight, don't worry. That will be sent out with that email as kind of the summary of what we talked about tonight, as well as my contact information. And for those that live in these urban interface areas, please reach out to me, because I have a more detailed presentation that takes a little bit longer. I just met with the Quail Valley HOA and gave them that presentation last night, because they're about to do a big mitigation project in May. And if you live in these wildland urban interface areas next to these big undeveloped pieces of land, get a hold of me and I will come do the same presentation for your neighborhood. And then we can discuss more about our community chipping program and how we can help. Any questions? Yes, let's get you a microphone.
I wonder if we're at cross purposes because we're trying so hard to plant lots of trees, and
Yes,
how
yes.
good it is for
Yes.
the environment and how it takes carbon out of the air and everything. So how do you deal with that?
So we don't want people to remove all the vegetation from around their homes. And that's one thing we look at when we come to do a home assessment, is we look at where the trees are in relation to your home and how close those trees are spaced together. We want people to have trees in their yard. We just want them to be a safe distance from their house. We don't want branches that hang down to the ground. And that's all part of the home assessment. And we can assess each individual property to determine which trees are safe to keep and maybe which ones are too close to the home and need to go. But that's a good question. So.
And it's just an assessment. It doesn't mean you have to cut.
Exactly. And we look at other things too with your home, like having your gutters cleaned, and we recommend screening over any attic vents and your chimney. So simple things around your home that can help make your home safer too. Any other questions?
I got a
Yes.
couple. So thank you for clarifying that, because that video made it look like we're supposed to cut down all our trees.
Yes.
But that's not really what
No,
you're
no,
saying.
that is not the plan.
Other question then similar to that is, if we take the vegetation off the hillsides, don't we potentially run the risk that now our hillsides will erode at a faster rate than when the material's there?
Yes.
Thoughts on how we address, because we don't want to take all
All of it off. Exactly. These are
Can you
steep
help us
slopes.
understand how we do that?
That's a great question. So we don't ever recommend taking everything off of a hillside. So cheatgrass can be trimmed. You trim cheatgrass in late May, early June, and it's dormant and it doesn't grow again. And then it stays in the soil, and that helps stabilize those slopes. With scrub oak, what we like to do, instead of there's big, I've been to some places where scrub oak is in huge clumps that are 40 feet wide by 20 feet long. What we want to do is we want to break those up into smaller groupings. So we want to break up the scrub oak into smaller little islands that are spaced at least 10 to 20 feet apart. And then we limb up that scrub oak so that the branches are at least 6 feet off the ground so that they're not near the grass. So we keep as much of that as we can. And then the stuff that's removed, we remove down, if we do remove it, we remove it down at the bottom where it hits the ground, but we don't actually take out the root system, and that'll help stabilize it as well. Good question.
One other question, watching that video made me think we have a lot of Provo homes with shake wood shingles.
Wood shake shingles, yes.
Have you or the city considered a program to help citizens adjust?
I do not know of a program. That is something I can talk to community development about and see if there is a city-based program for that. I do not know, but that is something that we actually do look at in those home assessments. And that is a very expensive thing to fix on your home, but there are a lot that have that. So thank you. And I think that is, yes, there's my contact information if you want to snap a photo of it. Like I said, Rachel will be sending out a follow-up email that will have all of my information as well. So please feel free to call or email me, and I look forward to chatting with you. Thank you.
All right, we're ahead of schedule. I'm so excited. Just kind of for my information, as we say email, how many of you here are here because you got Rachel's, well, let me do it the other way because I hope it's everybody. How many of you are here, but you did not see Rachel's email? I'm sorry, Rachel Breen, stand up. She's our neighborhood coordinator and she's great at sending that newsletter out. So good. So you will get that follow-up information if you'd like to sign up with Rachel. It's just an email that she sends out that says, hey, we're having a neighborhood meeting, or hey, here's the information from that neighborhood meeting.
It includes topics.
And it includes the agenda. It would have had the agenda. It would have had that cute graphic that you just saw with the circles around the house, was the most recent one that you would have seen. Because we're ahead of schedule, I don't know if the 7 o'clock presenter is even here yet, but I've talked to Melanie Hall, who's going to do the school board one, and she said she's willing to go first. No? Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry, Melanie. False alarm. Okay, well, if the developer's here and ready to go, then we'll.
Okay, I'm going to start off and kind of introduce, kind of talk about behavior at when we have a developer come. First of all, we ask you to be respectful. The developers are not required to meet with the neighborhoods. So the developer is taking time out to meet with you, and this is a great time for you to ask questions. And it's a great time for the developer to listen to you and to know your concerns. If it's purely I don't like this development, that needs to be saved for the planning commission and the city council. This is our time to ask questions. It's your time. It's about the only time you're going to have to speak directly to the developer. So take advantage of it. Some questions to consider are, what are the benefits to the neighborhood and city is this project? What are the potential downsides and impacts? And why is this zone change or general plan change better than what exists? And so for this item tonight, they are asking for a zone change. A question we get asked all the time is, can neighborhoods ask for a development agreement? The answer is no. In fact, Provo City staff also cannot ask for a development agreement. But you can ask, how will you address our concerns? How will you guarantee that what you're showing us tonight is what you're going to build? You can ask those questions and they might offer up a development agreement, but we cannot ask for one. If you still have questions, we keep it pretty short. We just keep it about 15 minutes for tonight. And so if you still have questions, the slides that the presentation that the developer is going to give is going to be online. And you can also contact the city planner. Nancy, can you raise your hand? There's Nancy. She's our city planner. Her name, phone number, and email address are on the agenda on our website and on the city calendar. Her information is everywhere. And she is a great resource if you have questions about this. And also, I want to show kind of where we are at in the development process. So right now, this developer, he has already applied for the zone change, and he is in the review process. That means that he's going back and forth with the city. The city is looking at his plans. They're asking him to make changes. He's making those changes. Then the city looks at the plans again, might ask him to make more changes, and it keeps going back and forth. So right now he is in this review period. So his plans may change a little bit depending on what the city asks him to do. It has not gone to Planning Commission yet. Planning Commission, that's where you can go and make public comment about this project. The Planning Commission makes a recommendation to the City Council. The City Council makes the final decision. Again, we encourage you to go to the City Council meeting where again, you can make public comment. That's where you can really go and state your opinion. If you really like the project, you don't like the project. Those are the most important meetings to go to because that's where the decisions are made, are at these two meetings, Planning Commission and the City Council. So at this time, we're going to turn it over for our presentation on the proposed Quick Quack Car Wash.
Rachel, will we be voting at the end of this to gather any feedback?
Yes,
No.
at the end of the presentation, we will be taking an opinion poll, and that is only for residents of District 1. So developer, you can't vote. It's only for people who live in District 1. We're going to ask if you like this project or if you don't like this project. We're going to send the results of that poll to the planner, who will include it in her staff report, and she will also include any of your concerns. If there are specific concerns you have, she will also include that in the staff report, which goes to the Planning Commission and also goes to the City Council.
Just hold it. Hey, thank you, Rachel. Thank you all for coming out. As Rachel said, we wanted to come out. It's important to us to be a good neighbor. I'm sure you're familiar with Quick Quack. There's quite a few of these car washes in the state. We're one of the fastest growing car washes actually in the country. And that's the credit of Quick Quack and the business they run. They're a great company, but I don't have a lot of time. This is pretty short. So I wanted to jump into this just quickly. I am very interested in your feedback. We've done a lot of these. We can be flexible in certain areas, but I also want to show what we've already done. And what I did for this presentation, we just have a few slides here. Really quickly, I just wanted to introduce the project, but I wanted to spend the bulk of the time addressing the concerns. I know there's some concerns around this one. There's a lot of people in this area that do have some questions and some concerns. So I wanted to show what we've done already to mitigate those concerns. So do I have a clicker? Okay, so this is our site plan. I know this isn't a site plan review. This is a review of the use. But I wanted to show this because I think there's some important things that I wanted to point out. I don't know if this is a point or two, but
before we go much further, for those of you who are unsure, on the very top of this across the street would be where Will's Pit Stop is. So just to kind of give you so you know where we're talking about as we go into this.
The green button. Oh, perfect. Thank you. So a couple of things I wanted to point out here. We design all of our projects to completely contain the traffic so that we don't have stacking issues or issues of backing up onto city streets. Our average site is usually around an acre, maybe a little less. This one's actually, you can't see that, but it's over an acre and a half. So we've heavily over-engineered our stacking as well as our vacuums. And that's important because that just alleviates any issues with stacking up onto adjacent streets and into the neighborhoods. And I know one of the big concerns is traffic up here, especially at this intersection and along here. We also put the access down here, which our traffic engineer, or not our traffic engineer, but an independent consultant we use to do a traffic study. He said that this is ideal for alleviating some of the traffic congestion here, and we'll get to that in a minute. Another thing I wanted to point out is the location of the building. We put that as close to this intersection as possible. I know noise is a concern. The main source of noise with a car wash is right here at the exit. It's where the blowers are. And so we intentionally orient the building towards noise, which is traffic. That's the biggest source of noise in this area, and that helps reduce the concern. One cool thing that Quick Quack does for vacuums, some of the other car washes will have a vacuum motor at each stall. But one really cool thing that Quick Quack does at the end of each room, there's a CMU block enclosure for one single vacuum motor, and that just really cuts down on the noise that the vacuums would normally produce if we had additional motors. So you can see there's one here and one here. So let me jump to the next one. Right, going. Whoops. This thing's a little finicky. This is just our landscape plan. Just wanted to point out, we're going to really enhance this site. We're going above and beyond on what we need to do to make this just really beautiful. This is basically our elevations. We'll get more into the looks later, but just a quick look at kind of what that looks like. I wanted to touch on zoning. This is one of the heaviest corridors in the whole city, the most traffic, heavily used areas. And so the general plan shows commercial all along here. As was mentioned earlier, there's a Jiffy Lube right here. There's a gas station right here and a drive-through bank on this corner, and we would be this fourth corner. So what we're doing is consistent with the uses at this intersection, and commercial zone is consistent with what we're doing. We actually, rather than going to a zone that would allow a car wash as a permitted use, we're actually opting to go for a lighter commercial use type zone change that requires a CUP, but just we thought that would be a little bit more just more consistent with the feel of the area to have a lighter commercial use. This is available later. I'm not going to go into detail here, but this is just a little bit more detail on Quick Quack, their standards, some of the other things we do as far as lighting, water conservation. Actually, we're doing some in Texas right now. They have a severe drought. They actually prohibit washing your car except at commercial washing facilities that recycle water. Washing your car in your driveway uses like 120 gallons of water, and we use a little more than you use in a shower. 25 to 30 gallons at the most. So, but there's some other things, lighting, what we do for lighting, some of the community involvement. We do parades, charities. My nephew actually called me to see if I wanted to buy a Quick Quack car wash to help his high school soccer team up in Bountiful. And I don't think he knew I did this. And but yeah, they like to get involved with the community. So now I want to get into the concerns a little bit in more detail. This is from a traffic study that we had done. And one of the important things I wanted to point out, just down here at the bottom. So, whoops. Get a sneak peek of, not sure what happened there. Okay. So our traffic the traffic engineer we hired to do this has actually gone to several of our sites and sat there and counted cars. And he has actual data of what we produce during our peak hours. And here's a summary of what it's actually more than what the national standard is in the what's this, the Institute of Transportation Engineers Trip Generation handbook. He's actually going with a higher amount because that's what we do have. But what it shows is that a Quick Quack car wash generates 86 p.m. peak hour trips. And a trip, I wanted to explain that because I think it's important. A trip is one car going in, and then when the car leaves, that's the second trip. So when you see the number of trips, I got here 86 p.m. trips. That would be 43 cars going in and out, 43 customers. And so That's what they base their information on. One thing he did point out is there is already a problem at this intersection. And this is the intersection here. Anyone who lives there, you know that. That's probably why a lot of you are here. So one good thing, we're already talking to David Day about this, and we're having the traffic consultant talk to him as well. And we're trying to come up with a solution. And ultimately there will probably be a roundabout here, whether we go in or that's what they're recommending, regardless of the use. So it'll probably be similar to the roundabout that's off the screen here. That's going to happen, no matter what comes in. One thing they're looking for now is an intermittent solution, something that can help right now. And immediately what they're recommending is some restriping, which would help. We would double the left turn lanes, and which would allow obviously twice the volume of left turns. The issue is cars are already backing up into the intersection. So doubling this, creating a left turn here, doing some restriping would definitely help. We're still in the works of coming up with solutions for that. But we're relying on the expertise of the traffic engineers and with the city and with the consultant, Joe Perrin. One thing he did say is with the roundabout, there is no, the car wash doesn't create any additional concern there. He did some math with the current traffic there and what we're proposing with our use and his studies of the other car washes, and we're adding about 5% to the existing traffic. So I was trying to hit the pointer, but we'll move on anyways. I know there's some time constraints here. So, but traffic is really important to us. And I guess the bottom line is we are working with the appropriate people to come up with a solution that works for us and for you and with the city. This next one is car wash density. Sometimes we hear that, well, there's too many car washes. We don't need a car wash, which is funny because we just talked about how many people are going to be coming here. So having more car wash actually helps alleviate some of the pressure at all of the car washes. But here's some data we did pull that shows within a 2-mile radius, we have a population of 61,000. We have these car washes that are within 5 miles. This one actually, as most of you are probably aware, hasn't been in service for the last 4 years. So this is what we're estimating for visits per month. And the population per car wash within a 2-mile radius is about 12,000, 12 to 13,000, which is a lot of people per car wash. And we analyze a lot of these sites. We have a little over 200 car washes, and this is an extremely low density car wash area for the population, especially with the Will's pit stop being removed. We'll have a questions segment at the end, but
I would say you have Will's pit stop car wash up there, but you don't have Timpview car wash. Yeah.
We're going to hold the questions for the end. All comments, we're going to hang out for the end. Hang in there.
We did within a 2-mile radius. So. The Costco one is up there. I don't know why this isn't going. Oh, the Quick Whack one is on there.
That one isn't built yet.
That's over 2 miles, the one that's built.
Okay. I don't want to waste our whole discussion time on this, so let's let him move on.
Rachel, can you click to the next one or? Okay, thank you. And regarding that, we can get into the specifics later on how many car washes are there, and but we are confident that this will be heavily supported. There will be a lot of people coming here, and it will be the people that are living in this area. The next issue is noise. Wanted to bring that up. So our standard car wash would be a lot noisier than this, what we understand that that's a concern. So we've gone to the extra mile to incorporate some extra measures to reduce noise. And one of those things is we put silencers on the blowers. We also have a noise absorbing lining that we'll do at the exit, which is again where the source of the noise is. And that's reduced the noise down below what the city standard is for meeting code. So this was a noise study that we had done recently. They actually go out and they measure noise, and they've been to several of our car washes and other car washes, and they actually measure the noise levels, and then they incorporate that into their models. And then you can see they've modeled it with all the noise sources here, and you can see we're meeting code here. Oops, are we both doing that now? And they just quick. So the noise consultant just said the proposed car wash does not exceed the permitted noise levels. So you can go to the next one. And here's just an example. This is within the northern, I want to say it right. The North University Avenue Riverbottoms design corridor. And so we will be, this will have some enhanced design standards over our other car washes. One of those would be we would be using what we call the desert color scheme, which is similar to this, but we would be looking at those design requirements. It would be consistent with the designs in the area, and we would be looking at those requirements. And in fact, that was some of the feedback we already got from the city is to make sure we're complying there. So we are looking at that, and it will be consistent with the other buildings around.
That's
the intersection.
Okay, is that the end of your presentation on that?
I think so. Was
Okay.
I didn't
We're-
put that one in, so.
Right, we're gonna have a comment from your neighborhood, from our neighborhood representative, and then we're gonna open it up for questions.
Okay.
Thank you. Let's see if I can get this fired up here. Here it comes.
Oh, there we go.
So, I'm Robert Hammond. I'm the neighborhood chair. I don't really want to stand up, but I'll try. I'm the neighborhood chair. And first of all, I want to recognize that if you're a property owner, you have the right to bring a project. And I appreciate you bringing it and letting us sing it. I also want to pass on to you some of the information I've received and information from the neighbors and other people to give you an idea of where we're coming from. And some of my statistics, I think maybe don't go with your statistics. And I guess we could talk about that afterwards. But anyway, so I'll just take a couple of minutes. And Rachel, I'm going to let you be the clicker on the pictures, if you would. If you go back a couple. Yeah, this is the one on the left is where I wanted to start. So anyway, I'll read a little bit of this. I apologize. I just didn't want to miss anything. First of all, on the traffic study, I wanted to read just a few lines from the traffic study. And also Vern, who was here earlier, is a city engineer. And he made comments to the city, and I've taken a few of those off of that. The first one is the intersection of 3700 North University Avenue is currently operating with several movements near capacity. And that's as of today. The picture on the left, I'll read this comment from the traffic study, and hopefully the picture will help you a little bit. Just to give you an idea, I went up to Days for a jug of milk, and I came back on a Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. So these pictures were taken at 7 p.m. at night on a Wednesday evening. And so, I was legally stopped because I was stuck in the intersection of University Avenue. It took me 2 lights to get through University Avenue going west. From this picture, due to the this is from the traffic study, due to the close proximity of Edgewood Drive to University Avenue, the eastbound queue from the intersection, which is on the left there, extends through the intersection of 3700 North Edgewood Drive, blocking turning traffic at this location. So that's my car, and I want to turn left onto 50 West, and there's no way to do it. The only thing I can do, at least as it's striped today, would be to stop and turn my blinker on and block the traffic into University Avenue, or keep going down around the roundabout and then come back and get on 50 West. The level of service at this location is already experiencing a couple of movements during the PM peak hour, with a D level of service and one with an F level of service. I was hoping Vern was still going to be here, that he could explain that better. All I have to go by is when I got a D and an F in school, it was not great. The study suggests two options in the traffic report to remedy this. A roundabout at, now this is coming from Provo City, a roundabout at 3700 North at Edgewood Drive. This would not be approved by UDOT or Provo City. That came from Vern Keeslar, who was here earlier. I've also talked to several people who have worked with UDOT extensively on service stations and other type products on an intersection like this. And they said they've never experienced in their years of doing that roundabout that close to a major intersection. The second option requires restriping 3700 North between Edgewood Drive and University Avenue. And this is from Provo City again, but fails to consider the bike lanes. So if this intersection were restriped and a dedicated left-hand turn, which would be right in front of my car, it wouldn't make a difference. The intersection is still blocked on the other side. All it would do is I think, first of all, we would lose the bike lanes, which I don't think Provo City wants to do. And second, I actually think it's going to create a problem for the service station to have a turn lane going both directions and blocking the front of the service station. Now, this is where we might get into a difference. I have an advertisement here, and I'm happy to show it to you from the Quick Quack website. Quick Quack advertisement says they can service 165 cars an hour, one every 3 seconds. Or 3 seconds, I'm sorry, that's a fast watch, 3 minutes. That means 165 cars an hour coming in, plus 165 cars going out. Now, I know that's not every hour, but during peak hours, you're saying in your advertisement that that's what can handle a Quick Quack car wash. That's a total of 330 cars an hour entering and exiting 50 West on a busy time. The picture on the right is looking back from 50 West, and that's what you would be experiencing if you were trying to get off of 50 West after a car wash to get back on. Could you go to the next slide, please? On the left-hand side is 50 West. At that same time, I pulled over my car and took a picture back. Those are cars waiting at 7 p.m. at night to either go left, if you can see on the left hand, or right, but the intersection is blocked and they can't get through. The right-hand side is up at the Quick Quack at Costco. One thought I had, and I don't know why, but in the traffic study, the two Orem Quick Quacks were not used to be the comparisons, which I didn't understand why they would use Quick Quacks in Salt Lake Valley, but maybe there's a reason. But picture 4, the attendant at the Quick Quack, this is my day, this is my Saturday, and I have a Quick Quack card, so I have nothing against Quick Quack. But this is me going up to Quick Quack at Costco. The attendant at the Quick Quack at Costco, when I pulled up and entered, I asked them, how many cars do you run through a day in Orem? And she mentioned they are servicing over 2,000 cars a day. Now, this came from the attendant that took my card. Again, that means 2,000 cars a day entering and the same 2,000 cars leaving the car wash. If that same level of business occurred at 3700 North and 50 West intersection on a busy day, it could add up to 4,000 car trips a day in that intersection. And again, I'm not an expert, so I'm just going off of your website and what your employees have told me. But I don't know if you remember the earlier presentation, they were talking about Canyon Road having 1,000 trips a day going down Canyon Road. If I'm off 50%, let's take it down to, 80 cars an hour. We're still talking a couple thousand cars coming through this intersection in a day on a busy day. Wickwhack and Orem and other major car washes. Well, first of all, I wanted to mention, when I was in this line here, you can see where I am. I'm back by the Costco service station. You can see the turn up there in front of me going into the Wickwhack. There were over 40 cars either coming in or going out of that Wickwhack at that moment in time. The cars on the left are the ones trying to get back onto that road that goes in front of the Costco service station. And the cars on the right are waiting to get into the queue. So when we talk about the queue, and if we look at the plan that's presented for this intersection, there's just no way that they can fit and not go back on to 50 West. In talking to some of the city staff and going out into the Orem Wickwhack on North State Street, I was told that they're already backing, and that's Wickwhack onto State Street. Wickwhack and Orem and other major car washes have been constructed in shopping center parking lots, the two in Orem. They are not being built in close proximity to residential developments, and they have the added room for overflow of traffic in shopping center parking lots, so it will hopefully not block the adjacent public streets. At least from what I've seen, the major car washes being built currently in Orem and Provo are in shopping centers. And if they back up into parking areas, not onto city streets. One last thing on the traffic. The neighborhood, for what it's worth, has sent the Wickwhack traffic report to a second engineering group to get their opinion. And I expect to have the written response in the next week, which I can share with you and the city. I did receive a call last night with some of the verbal feedback on what they had initially found in that report. They are concerned that the suggested changes in the report to improve the intersection were just that, suggestions. They could not see the report that the changes of a roundabout or restriping would ultimately resolve the intersection problems. And they also commented from that engineering firm that UDOT, they just can't see UDOT ever accepting a roundabout that close to 50 West and in University Avenue. They felt that the suggested use for the property with the challenges that exist at the intersection would be professional offices or some other use that is low traffic and low impact. With the location of 50 West being so close to University Avenue, the intersection, it will always be a difficult intersection, and high traffic use proposed for that property would be difficult. My last comment, and then we'll open it up or whatever you'd like to do, is sound and lighting. And I know you addressed some of that, and I guess it's a matter of opinion. I went up to the Costco and I went 100 yards away, a block away. But the Wickwhack proposed literature compares sound levels, and this is in your letter to the city, as those coming from local street. The concern I have, and so you know, I live maybe a block from this proposed Wickwhack. With this proposal, it will be moving that sound, which is the closest street, University Avenue, to the surrounding neighborhood. Instead of traffic noise being 1 block away, the equivalent car wash noise will now be only 40 feet away from residential homes and the adjoining office park. The car wash sound is a constant noise, and at the Costco location, it can be heard for several blocks. The proposed location is directly across from a neighborhood street from an adjoining neighborhood. It brings with it lighting, traffic, and constant noise. This would continue all day until 10 o'clock at night. I know that you're not going to take a sound machine and hear a giant noise, but you're going to hear a drone that goes on constantly. And 40 feet away is not very far to have a home and have to deal with that. Again, my hope is that, from many of the neighbors, for almost 35 years, I've been involved with this area of Provo, that property was going to hopefully go to professional offices or some type of use that way, so that 50 West can be protected from the traffic. The Jamestown office buildings were built so that they could protect the noise of University Avenue from the homes and the subdivisions over there. The office buildings were built right on 50 West so that the parking would be on University Avenue and that the trees and other things would protect the neighborhoods. And so I respectfully, on behalf of the neighborhood, give that information.
So
Would you
you're
like
gonna
me
go
to
ahead and give
respond
the
to those?
developer just
Oh.
would 3 minutes be enough to respond to that, or we're already past?
I can go
the-
fast.
Okay, let's go real fast.
All right, thanks, Robert. No, I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll try to hit on, hopefully I can touch on everything. You're right, DNNF grades are bad. And it is operating very poorly currently. What we're proposing now is to accelerate the solution. And I know it's, and I probably need to touch on the other numbers first. But we're already working with the city and we're working with traffic engineers. We know it's a problem. Our use would add approximately 5% to that, but we would come up with a solution years ahead of time than what it would if it just sat there now. Currently, nothing's happening. And David Day, I've been talking to him, and he's mentioned, we would be the ones pushing that, come up with a solution. The advertisement for 165 cars an hour, we can do that. Yeah, and it's awesome. And what that does is that alleviates the stacking pressure. Do we service that many cars? Not even close. We can. We don't spare the expense on our equipment. We can service cars much faster than other car washes without sacrificing quality. We put a lot into that. We pride ourselves in having the best car wash. And I wish we had 165 people per hour. We would have to engineer things a little bit different if we did. And I don't know where she got the 2,000, but we had heard that rumor, and we have analytics on every site we have, and we looked it up, and no, we're not even. We do a lot at that location, which is another reason why we need another car wash to help support our customer base. But no, we're not even close to 2,000. The car wash is in the study. Costco. Oh, the noise. You mentioned noise at the Costco. Sorry to jump around. We didn't need to do anything there. Like I said, maybe I wasn't clear when I presented on noise, but our standard car washes, yeah, they're noisy. There's commercial around them. There's streets around them. Why would we go to the expense, if they're operating okay in that setting? We realize in this setting and in some other settings that we've done where we're close to neighborhoods, not only do we want to meet code, but it's important to us to be a good neighbor and to do what we can to not only meet but exceed code and try to reduce noise. So it's a great expense to us, but we're adding silencers and lining the tunnel and doing those things to help mitigate noise and orienting our site to point towards traffic. So, all right, I'm probably over 3 minutes. Oh, good. As far as the studies that he used, I don't know why he used those, honestly. That's where he's collected data over the years. We didn't tell him to go use the Orem sites. So for that traffic study, he uses the information that he already has. So, but we could certainly have him go look at other sites. Yeah. Did I miss anything? Robert, was there? Okay. I guess the bottom line is we know there's a problem. The traffic there is, no matter what goes in, there's going to be a problem. And I know that this site has been vacant for so long, and I know I think there's been some intention to develop it over the years. I think I even heard there's homeless people on there, but I think right now we're here now ready to develop this, and that will help. You know, we're 100% full speed ahead on trying to solve the traffic issue. That's number one. And so we will work with the engineers, work with the city to come up with a solution that's clearly, the pictures is a big problem today, and we want to help with that. And with our 5% increase in traffic, you know, I think overall having a solution come in now is a good thing.
Okay,
Rachel?
so that is time. And I'm told I'm supposed to, I know you all want to say something, but we have to be able to let staff leave soonish.
Right.
Rachel?
So Mr. Pepperoni, it's past the time that normally we allow staff to stay. Did you want Nancy to go? We can continue with our conversation. Okay.
So
Okay.
two
So
things to keep in mind would be staff's time at this moment. And Melanie Hall is here from the school board district. I don't know if any of you are here to hear her update, but she was scheduled to start at 7:15. So those two things need to happen. I kind of want to raise my hands real quick. If your only issue at this moment is traffic, raise your hand. Okay. All right. Because what I want to do, I'd love to see maybe as somebody makes a comment, you raise your hand because you're in support of that comment, so that the same comment doesn't have to be made 20 times. I know you all want to be heard, because I appreciate that you've all come out and spent the time to do that. But we kind of want to keep the discussion moving, not getting stuck on the same comment. And the microphone is headed back to the gentleman in black. Some things to keep in mind as we do this.
Thank you very much.
Are
Is that on? Can you
it
hear me?
is. Yes.
I have a comment that's very serious that needs to be made.
Okay.
This side street that you're
Before
going,
you start, I'm going to have somebody in my board grab their phones. You will not be given more than 1 minute, because if everybody here has a comment, we'll be here.
important question.
Okay.
That side street that you want to use is going to be your main entrance and exit. Let me tell you what's on that. On one side, all lined with businesses that use that. On the other side, 4 neighborhoods, Pheasant Green, Brookside, and some others. Those are their entrances and exits. And when you have that traffic come down there, you are going to frustrate a lot of people just trying to get in and out of their neighborhoods.
Thank you. Thank you for keeping it brief. Okay. And state your name if you would, please, before you start. Okay, hold on, next one.
I have a quick question. Jennifer Stringham. I live in the Pheasant Green neighborhood. Currently, what I'm understanding is the zoning doesn't allow a quick whack to go in. So can someone explain to us what the city council will be voting on to change the zoning? Because currently I'm understanding you can't build one there based on the current zoning. So that's what the city council's voting. So.
Correct. So quickly, the graphic that Rachel showed at the beginning that had the process in it, at this moment, it's zoned A15. It's just agriculture. So you could build one house on there. And that's, as was presented by Robert, everybody who buys a piece of property in Provo has the right to come to the city and ask for the current zoning that they bought in to be changed. We have a general plan that has kind of an idea that should give a direction, but that's just a general plan. They go through that process in that cute graphic, and that's the process to ask for the zone change to be made. This is part of that process. You get to give your input, your opinion on it, but ultimately the property owner applies to the city, and the city looks at the different criteria they have for making that change. And then it goes through planning where they give their recommendation, and it goes to the city council where they can vote yay or nay based on all your input, which is only input, and the city staff's input. So currently, if somebody purchased this property, they could build anything that's allowed in the A1 zone, which isn't much. If it's quick, Robert.
Because I was educated a little bit on this too, and it came up. In the general plan, this property is shown as a commercial zone, but it's currently not zoned that yet. That's just the general plan. The staff explained to me, and we maybe should have the staff do this, but just because the general plan says commercial doesn't mean that a car wash will go there. Under commercial, there are multiple different well, Dave Sill could tell us, but there are multiple subdivisions underneath that. One of them is private offices, or there might be one that includes car washes. So just because the general plan said commercial doesn't mean that it has to go commercial as far as a car wash. It could go commercial as a private office.
Right. So that's part of this process. You handed the mic too.
So one of the big problems is pedestrians. This is a community of a lot of biking, a lot of kids on scooters, walking to school, friends' houses. This is a pretty solid, walking, especially with the kids and the teenagers. And right now where on the other side, to cross over Will's pit stop with all the traffic going in and out of that is already an issue. So they have to cross over and go over where there's less cars going in and out of a business. And that'd be over on the other side when now you're going to increase all of that work, all of that flow and backup for kids to even get around down there. And you've got scooters, you've got golf carts and kids and all over the place, and moms and strollers, which we love babies.
So
Don't
I'm
be a
gonna
baby
see
killer.
real quick. Thank you again for keeping it brief. If there's any questions that staff could directly answer, could you come forward first? In fact, just to keep this moving a little faster, if you'll just kind of stand over here if you want to make a comment. I know that's irregular, but just come on up to the front. We'll get you a mic that much quicker.
Dave
So if you have a
Horn.
question directly for staff, not just a comment, but that we need staff to answer.
So Dave Horn and 3900 North. This is the same thing that happened kitty corner before Jiffy Lube went in. It's exactly the same thing. It was zoned agricultural residential, and it took years and years and years with a sign on there. I'm actually quite shocked and surprised that while I moved away for a bit of time, that Jiffy Lube went in. The only thing that makes sense on that Jiffy Lube is that it blended with the architecture around it. Quick Quack does not. Not even close. All right. And you're just that with the Jiffy Lube and then the Ivy townhomes. The problem is you have congestion in that intersection, and you're only going to make it worse.
Scott Jacob, I just wanted to be clear for the staff. So when it goes to Planning Commission and beyond, will they be voting on both the issue to rezone as well as plan approval? Those will occur together, or is there a separate? First, we got to vote on the zone change, and then if zone change is approved, we'll go to plan approval. I just want to understand, are those voted on together or separately?
Bill will answer your question.
When it goes to Planning Commission, they will be presented with the zone change and the concept plan. And they'll vote on those two things. The zone change will be a recommendation to the city council. The concept plan approval or denial would be at the Planning Commission level. If the zone change is approved by the city council, Quick Quack would have to come back through the process again for project plan approval. It gets into much more specifics than the concept plan zone change stage.
Just because I have a question for you, Bill. And that's a good question. And to that same, we just had one in our neighborhood where the Planning Commission approved the concept plan because they liked the project at the mouth of the canyon. But because of staff recommendation, they recommended not to approve the zone change. And so I bring that up because I would have the same question here about the sewer capacity for a car wash. Can staff answer that or not? Or are you still in the review process?
Yes, it's still being reviewed.
Hi, my name's Karen Aquino. I'm a recent move-in of 8 years from California, and that intersection is so scary to me. Sometimes I literally am praying that those little old ladies and men that live in the neighborhood that are mostly over 80 can get through that safely. My question to staff is, what is the estimated revenue that's going to come back to the city? And is that worth the life of one of the childs or one of these elderly people that we have that use that intersection already that is so busy? And then finally, what is your alternative site? What are your alternative sites that you're looking at?
Do you have, is there revenue for the city, Bill?
We don't consider the revenue aspect of this when we're looking at a land use decision like that. So there's been no analysis of the financial upside or cost to the city. What was the other question?
Oh, other location.
Not in this immediate area, no. I mean, we're always looking at sites. We're growing fast, but not in this neighborhood.
So there's been a lot of discussion about traffic and noise, but no one has addressed what it's going to do to, in regards to devaluating our property. Our homes are our biggest investment, and people my age, we have worked our whole lives to have a nice home in this nice neighborhood. And now to have it devaluated by a car wash, and you know it will. I had a professional realtor tell me that. And I'm sure that's one of the biggest reasons most of you are here. But I just wanted to, what about us? What about our investment, our largest investment that we've made in our whole lives?
Becca has somebody back here.
Hi. Hi, I have a two-part question. Pardon?
No, go ahead, stand up.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Hi, I have a two-part question. One question is, I just went blank for half a sec. Okay, I'll do this one that's just kind of personal, if I may, because the way we understand things sometimes is to apply things to our own lives. So if I may play that, if your wife and you guys lived right behind and your only exit from your neighborhood is to come out to 50 West or whatever it's called on either end and either turn left because you have to go up this way or go up to Orem or turn right. And those are your only exits from your neighborhood. Do you feel that your wife would approve of her no, I'm being so sincere, because when we apply things to our personal lives, instead of being out in a few steps removed from an actual situation of living in it, we tend to think and have a different vantage point, and our opinions lie therein. And so that's why I'm trying to bring you to the center, if I may, by your understanding an analogy that would apply to you personally with your wife and your children who spend every day taking kids up and down and going to the grocery store and going here and there. And then the traffic's going to be backed up way, way beyond.
Okay, yeah, sorry. Did you want to answer that, Russ? Yes or no, like 10 seconds?
10 seconds?
Yeah.
Most of my conversations with my wife last longer than 10 seconds. But that's a great question. And honestly, I do take this to heart. You know, I grew up in this valley. I still live in this valley. I work in this valley. My family lives all around here as well. And I try to take that to heart. And I think I do have some biases because I see the side of it where we're pushing to improve things. You know, honestly, I think we're going to push hard to improve the traffic in this area. And we are going to add some traffic and a little bit, but we're going to do things that are going to more than compensate for what's there currently.
All right. Rachel has a question online. I'm guessing that's why your hand's in the air.
Yeah. Okay, so we have a few comments online about child safety, about traffic. There's another one here. It says you didn't mention the wide utility pole on 3700 blocking just west of 50 West. Blocks the view for anyone that tries to turn left, right, or straight going north from 50 West, crossing or getting on 3700. You have to pull into 3700 to even see around the pole. So that was one question on that. We also have, I'm going to have Whitney, if I could have you unmute yourself and do your question or comment, please.
Hi, yes. I just want to make it clear to the developer that we appreciate your preparation. But I think what I'd like to communicate to you is you have a much larger fight on your hands than I think you realize. Provo City has not protected the interests of the people in this area well. So I know you keep saying that you're working with them, but they have not protected us. So, for example, the Jiffy Lube that has come up a few times was supposed to have a completely bricked exterior. They promised us they would do that, and then they ended up doing stucco on the back. And the entrance to their Jiffy Lube is also a residential entrance, and it's constantly in flux, and there's a lot of near collisions. And again, the children have been mentioned, so I won't mention that again. But also, your buildings are not quite attractive. So the whole "trust me, bro, we're going to make it look good" approach is probably not going to work for this community in particular. So I just wanted to let you know that this is going to be quite the knockout drag down fight.
Oh.
Okay, hope this is working. Yeah, two quick questions. And these are really just clarifications of things that were presented or brought up. One is, do the quick car washes in or around this area currently have overflow that sometimes goes into traffic, that the lines are outside, as was suggested by some people in some of your locations? And the second question is, your map showing the noise levels over 65 decibels in that purple area, that's after all the things you talked about doing. Those are adjusted, or is it going to be some smaller amount than that? Does that take into account the adjustments you're already planning?
You want me to address that? Yeah, great question, Stan. Spillover. Yeah, there are some times, those once a year storms where it's mud falling out of the sky and everybody wants to go to the car wash at the same time. There are some of our car washes, especially the earlier car washes, some of the first ones we did in Utah, where we underestimated the amount of customers we would have. Some of those do have some issues, which is why we take a lot more consideration into our engineering for stacking, and we can service much faster now. And so this site, which is 50% larger than most of our other sites at 1.5 acres, we don't anticipate that problem at all at this site. As far as the noise goes, yeah, the one to the north, I believe, and this could be a question for the city, but I believe at commercial boundaries, the decibel limit is 70, and at residential, it's 65. So you could see on the north, I think it was 68, and the decibel that we're showing in our models on the residential was 64, 65, somewhere right in there. And that does include the measures we've taken. It would be louder if we didn't go to those expenses to reduce noise. So it is meeting code.
So in conjunction with the concern about the kids, there are bus stops that stop right there on 50 West at 7:30 in the morning and 7:45 in the morning, and also at 3 in the afternoon and 3:30, which is high traffic times for a car wash. So that's a concern as well, that kids are going to be trying to get on and off the bus as you've got more traffic coming off of 50 West. So I think that's a huge concern. Also, I am a real estate broker who does most of my transactions in this northeast area of Provo, and it will 100% depreciate the value of homes in some way or another, which in turn would also reduce our tax rate, which is less for Provo. So I don't think those ramifications would be well either. Okay. If you could raise your hand, if you just really just have to speak still. We're half an hour past our, okay, I'm going to ask you to stand up. Prove it.
I'm just going to make one quick comment here. This all has to do with Provo having our backs, because we are paying the taxes, we pay your salaries. We expect Provo to hear us, to have our backs. And I would like to make sure that everyone's invited to talk to everybody they can, to show up to the planning meetings and the council meetings, so that Provo can really understand this is our city. We live here and you need to listen to us.
My home is, my backyard is 150 feet, going down 50 West. And, then my neighbor to the north of me has, they would be right across from the car wash. And I moved here from Northern California, from Napa, and I wanted a quiet, high-end environment. And that is why I purchased my property there and built my home 32 years ago. And
Me too.
yeah, and and I sit out on my deck and there, I don't even notice the noise from University. But if it would destroy my backyard and the enjoyment that I have. It would just be horrible. And my neighbors can.
Okay. Everybody that loves Quick Quack, raise their hand. It goes there regularly. We all do, I'm sure, multiple times a week. So it's not that we're against Quick Quack. We love it, but we're totally against the traffic. And there is no way, I'm sorry, there's no way you're going to make the traffic better. It's only, right? It's only going to get worse. And if this was a meeting just to fix the traffic, we would be here. We will really come out if the city decides to allow Quick Quack. Even though it would be really nice to have one a little, less than 2 miles away, like that's a far distance. We love Quick Quack, but the traffic is already bad and there aren't sidewalks that first, I don't know, couple hundred yards. So as Jeff was saying, those people with kids, it's only going to get worse. So we love you. Forget about the Quick Quack.
50 West is the major avenue to get to the bike path. And there's probably more pedestrian traffic, strollers, bikes than anywhere in the city is right there at 50 West getting to that bike path.
My concern's a little unique. I think I'm concerned about there being so many Quick Quacks in a very small area. We've got Costco, we've got this one, you've got another one planned on University Parkway and Freedom Boulevard, and then you have another one on State Street. I think you're creating a destination for people to come from other areas into our area to wash their car. And I'm disappointed that your demographics did not point that out, that you didn't include your University Parkway site in your analysis, because it is within 1.9 miles. And you acted like you didn't even know about it. Did you know about that?
The one that we haven't started building yet? Approval yet, so that one was not counted yet. We don't have approval yet. We don't speculate it being better, but.
We need that.
So I just have a question, and it's probably directed maybe more to the city. I'm not sure what can be done, and I appreciate you listening to the concerns, but is there anything the city can do? I know it's in the general plan for commercial, and this traffic on 50th West is a concern, but is there any way to redirect that onto University Avenue, have your access that direction, or is there anything that can be done there?
So Bill can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's a UDOT road, so that they're gonna be up to the city, that will be a UDOT decision. And we can ask Rachel to send out the UDOT contact for our district, because I know you had questions about some of Vern's concerns also about 5600 North. So that's gonna wrap up our discussion here tonight. I appreciate everybody's patience and staying through the whole thing. And the other thing that we're allowed to do at this point, before you rush out the door, is that we're supposed to take a poll. Keep in mind, this is a poll, not a vote. They want your opinion. I have two questions I've come up with, and I will allow somebody to quickly correct me on the board if you have a different suggestion. My first would be, are you in favor of this project as presented? Just calm down. Are you in favor of an SC1 zone change? So currently it's 815. Would you be in favor of a simply changing that zone? If anybody has a suggested other alternate question you want to hold very quickly. Anybody?
I don't think the second question is valid.
Okay.
Because it still leaves one zone and there's multiple commercial zone options.
You're right. This is what will be presented to the city. So I want them to have your opinion on this. You're right. And I would direct you to, if you're not sure, then go ahead and vote no. If you're for vote yes, I don't care. But I would direct you to the city site where you can look up before planning commission. That's why I say I'm okay with your poll here. You can go before planning commission, before city council, go to, and I Google the code all the time. Just Google Provo City Code, SC1 zone. And it should pop right up and it'll tell you what's allowed in that zone. So you can get comfortable with what you might consider being built in that zone.
Office building.
Look it up because there's more than just one thing. And I say that because as you direct your comments to planning commission, to city council, everybody likes to, nobody wants to hear boo, hiss, go away.
Yeah.
The city council, and I'll tell you the planning commission also want to hear some positive feedback. You haven't just been emotional about this. You haven't just put your foot down and you're stomping your foot. You're considering what would be options that you're willing to see.
Just to clarify, the second question, she's asking their opinion whether you'd be okay with SC1, which does not allow a car wash, but allows certain other commercial. Is that accurate?
Yeah, in the SC1 zone, car wash is a conditional use permit, it's conditional use. So
it does allow car wash.
Okay.
So there you go. Okay, so that. All right, I'm trying to move this quickly. I'm so sorry for how long this is taking. We're voting for or against. No, we're having a poll right now. If you are in favor of this project as presented, I think I asked that question badly, but if you're in favor of this project as presented, raise your hand. Okay, we've got two. My second, are you? Oh, yep.
In the neighborhood, are you down the street?
Do you?
We office there in Jamestown.
Okay.
So-
You don't.
Hey, everybody's voice gets to be heard here, and I'm okay with people who work in the area. But I'm gonna defer to Rachel as far as what the rule is.
No, you have to be a resident. You have to live in the district.
Okay.
Yep.
But that does not preclude you from coming to planning commission or writing to planning commission or city council.
Well, they don't care if our property goes down because they don't own
Okay, I'm not going there. Okay, so if you are, I guess on the other side, just to cover all bases, if you are not in favor of the project as presented, would you please raise your hand? Good. One hand. All right. And because it would be what's going to planning commission, you can put your, I think. Yeah, Becca's got it. She's got check. You're good. All right. Because that's what will be presented to planning commission and city council, I'm going to ask, would you be in favor of an SC1 zone change? And I'm sorry, we don't have time to go over all the things that could be included in that use. So if you are not in favor, if you're not in favor of considering the SC1 zone change, please raise your hand. If you're not in favor of the zone change, please raise your hand. No, we're not city council, we're just coordinating the parts. Okay, I'm sorry. I really hate to. I won't call you out, but if you would be in favor of SC1, or if you have any comments you want to make further, please write to Rachel. Do we have that? Look, there are your options. Take a picture, or Rachel will send it out in an email follow-up.
Right.
After this.
Yes, so very important. We had such a good turnout here. More important to turn out at planning commission and city council. They're the ones who make the decision. If you live really close to where this project is happening or proposing to happen, you will receive a postcard in the mail telling you when planning commission and city council are happening. So watch for that. If you live kind of farther out, check website, social media. If you signed up for the newsletter, it'll be in your newsletter. If you can't attend a public hearing to make comment, you can go to Open City Hall and submit a comment. You can write to the planning commission at dspublichearings@provo.org. You can write to the city council at council@provo.org. They're the decision makers. That's the most important thing to do. Don't just come to this meeting and don't go to the others. You have to go to the others so that they know how you feel. And can we give a big hand to our applicant for coming and talking to us? Thank you so much.
Okay, so I was asked.
Is the April 30th is for city council meetings to go through?
But that's planning. So Patrice McKay, who I saw in the back, is in our district, represents our district specifically.
But it happens at this time. The city council meeting has the planning meeting in it. No, the planning meeting first, separate. And then it'll go. But if I sign up for the email, sign up for the email or get on our Facebook page, the neighborhood. Thank you.
All right.
Rachel, can you go to the next one?
Oh, yes.
So sorry, we have a new business administrator that we just hired. Her name is Bevan Bailey. She comes to us with 23 years of experience. She worked up in Provo City. So we're really excited to have her. She was in the director of accounting in 2011.
Seen our neighbors since months.
Next slide. Okay, Camp Big Springs. We're doing a survey to find out people's opinion about Camp Big Springs. This is our fifth grade camp. Fifth grade camp right now consists of a 4-day, 4-night experience. It's at Big Springs. I don't know if you guys ever know what that is, at Southport Canyon. Anyway, what we're looking for is to see what the appetite is to go to a 2-day camp versus a 4-day camp, or even just a day camp. So we're asking for opinion. If you want that survey, contact me or Lisa Boyce. We'd be happy to get you that survey. Next slide, please. It's always been fifth grade camp. It's because there's a fine line there, old enough in the mature enough to handle it, but they're not mature enough to get in trouble, yeah. This means that magic number, so. Cell phone policy, Governor Cox emailed the entire, all boards in the state about having a district-wide cell phone policy. I'm just gonna read you a couple of highlights from his letter. He said, I'm writing you to ask to remove cell phones from the classrooms by creating a collaborative and cohesive LEA-wide policy framework that reaches every classroom. Many schools in our state have already moved forward with school-wide cell phone policies that limit student access and shared experiences that are supported by national data too compelling to ignore. When cell phones are kept in backpacks or lockers, learning improves, distractions are fewer, student engagement increases, and opportunities for human connection are fostered. So we're looking, currently our cell phone policy in the district is a school by school basis. So we're looking at possibly putting it together, something that is a district-wide, but we would love your feedback on this. So please let us know. Next slide. Email. Yeah, you can email me or Lisa or anybody on the board, or you can do the superintendent as well. So we would love to hear all sides and all things as we start to put together that policy. Capital needs at Timpview and Dixon. We did recently open the new part of Timpview. But we are finding that we have other structural issues in the remaining part of Timpview. So we are going to have some to discuss our current budget, to discuss Timpview and our other needs and the Dixon property. We are going to have these 4 meetings. They're not exactly set in stone yet, but we're planning on 6 p.m. May 1st at Centennial, May 6th at Provo High, May 15th. This is actually not Edgemont. We changed this last night to Timpview so that we can be in the auditorium, and May 16th at Dixon Middle School. So this is a really good opportunity for you to come and give us your feedback on our capital needs. Do you have questions on that about our capital needs?
I mean, that won't be the school.
Right, Shoreline is opening. And so Dixon is sitting empty, but the school district still has a lot of needs, and we're going to have a presentation about what those other needs are. So we want to talk to you about what we possibly could do with the Dixon property that we currently have. This could possibly be another bond, and this is why we want to talk about our budget, and we want to talk about what those needs are, and we want to hear your feedback of what you would support.
So do I understand then the bond that was passed that we kind of all voted against, but somehow ended up getting passed anyway, that's not enough?
The first bond did not pass. The second bond was a general obligation bond for Timpview for phase 1 and phase 1 only. It did not include the auditorium, the I-wing, the cafeteria, it was just the academic wing and the south and north gym.
Do you know, with the current project, do you know if it's within budget?
Yes, it is within budget.
It is.
Yes.
Okay.
Any other questions about capital needs? But please come to these meetings if you can. We're going to be sending out more information to remind people to come to these. These will be started. This is just to start the conversation. We want to show pictures and things so that you guys can see the things that we're seeing as we go along. We have a question back here. Hopefully we're going to put together like either in the flyer or something like that, but I'll put it on Facebook and remind people as well.
We can also add that to the minutes.
Okay, that would be great. We'll get this. I'll make sure that Sharon has that information and Rachel has it. That would be great. I'll make sure Rachel has those dates and times for sure. Okay. Any other questions about capital needs? All right, next slide. All right, questions. So if you have any questions, feel free to email Superintendent Dow at wendyD@provo.edu. I'm Melanie Hall at melanieh@provo.edu. And Lisa Boyce is our other representative, and she is Lisa BO at provo.edu.
I know. I know I should have. We tried, but
We tried, right? We tried.
So if you
Um,
have any other questions, please feel free to ask me.
Okay, so the agenda says that we have time for public comment. If anybody still feels in their heart that they need to spend 2 minutes, stand up here and say your name and give us your comment. Anybody? Jump? Yes.
So, just a little update. Well, it's not much of an update unless Rachel can add a little more information. But there's another project that's been in discussion and in review at the city that probably will have the similar type of, I was going to say anxiety, energy about it. And that's on 4800 North, just north of the funeral home. I think it's still going through the process. If I recall, nothing's scheduled yet. They already came here once, so the same strategy applies that Rachel explained. When it shows up on Planning Commission and then City Council, we need to show up. That's a 6-story, 268, I can't remember how many, something like that, units. It is grossly disproportionate to what is anywhere in this area of Provo. Exactly to the north of the
Correct.
funeral home.
So
Yes,
keep
we
in
need to
mind,
conjure up the same energy because that is seriously off track with where the rest of the city and the development is.
they're just in the process. They've been to a neighborhood meeting. I heard rumor they had pulled because of that same sewer issue the other project had. That's a rumor.
Is that true or not?
So
That's what
it was a rumor. It was not given to me by the city or anybody. I could call it official. So just keep a heads up. If it comes, we will have Rachel send out the same emails you've been getting.
If you're planning to come to those meetings, great, and you'll probably get a whole minute to speak. If you send an email, you can totally pour your heart out to your city council person, to whomever it is that needs to know your opinion. You can word it just the way you want it instead of like, oh, wait, it's my turn. What do I do? So, sure, come to the meetings, but send email to the Planning Commission and to the City Council.
I agree with Lynn completely because then one, it's written, it's in front of them. They can see the argument. And Becky has a comment and then.
So I have a quick plea comment. I get a lot of emails on City Council Day. I do not have time to read your email on a City Council Day. I would love to hear what you have to say to me, but I do study the issues over the weekend, and by 5 o'clock on Monday night, my brain just has a Charlie Brown wah, 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 and I do not understand a word you say. And then I'm in council meeting. Yesterday, I was there from 10 a.m. until about 8 p.m. I do not have time to read your emails. I love you guys. I love your emails.
On the day of.
Yeah, on the day of. I had about 10 emails and I didn't get to read them until after a decision. So if you're going to send an email, I love that. But just keep in mind that if you really want us to read them, they probably need to be there before Monday at 5 o'clock, the day before council meeting, not during a council meeting.
I would agree. So I would frankly recommend Planning Commission comes out. Those agendas are always published the Thursday before their Wednesday meeting. So you can see what's on the agenda. Again, you can Google it. I know I lax sometimes and forget. But you can look up what's on the agenda so you can see it coming. You can then write to whatever that address is. Because it's the whole Planning Commission you're writing to then. And I would either, if you can't attend Planning Commission, then I would watch it for sure. I love to watch the meeting afterwards, put it on time and a half and go. So anyway, what I was saying was that as soon as Planning Commission's over, you've heard their recommendation now. Now it's time to write to City Council. Don't wait for it to get on the agenda. And then they have it. And make sure and reference your project so they know exactly what you're talking about when you do that. Did you still have?
I just had a question. If any sort of neighborhood petitions would be beneficial for some of these issues coming up, if everybody can't make it to the meetings or whatnot, do they look at a petition from the neighborhood?
I think it would have the same weight as any other comment or email.
So a lot of the comments that, okay, so yesterday was a zone change for an ADU, right? And she had 44 houses and I think there were 39 people that signed this petition. Yes, that's what they wanted. And then yesterday during council meetings, I was getting, I am in support of this project. I am in support of this project. I am in support of this project. So to me, if you don't say anything more than I'm in support of this project, I would look at one of those petitions as the same thing. Now, if you have more to say than that, like, you know, and usually you want to take the emotion out of it. You want to give us some facts. So, you know, you can say, hey, I'm really concerned that this is a failing intersection and I don't know what's going to happen with it with that. So maybe this isn't a good idea. Those kinds of things are great to write in your emails rather than just do a petition because then we don't know what your concerns are, right?
Also the contents for the planning. So if you want, I'll leave them here and you can just take a picture of those.
It's actually more helpful if you go to council@provo.org.
That's this.
Okay, it's not individually write us.
This is individuals, this is the group. So
Yeah, it's better if you do the whole group because it also goes to our executive director and he likes to see what's coming in. And so if you write us one by one, a lot of times it doesn't get to where it needs to be.
Question about the open city hall is if there isn't an actual post about an issue, is there just a place to put it?
There is a generic, what do you want to say to the city council? Because they are actually put on there by the planning staff and sometimes they forget to put that specific item on. And that's why we have a generic one that gets sent to the council.
Just a really quick clarification. So you say send to council at Provo and all council members see it. Does it help if we also send directly to the one that represents our district? Doesn't matter.
It gets to everybody. The only one that we've had issues with in the past is George Hanley, but we've worked that out, right? I think George is getting those. So if you do council.org, you get me, you get Catrice, you get George, you get Rachel, and you get our executive director. And usually one of us, if we can see how that is just gone to council.org, and let's say it's a concern that has really nothing to do with us, which we get a lot of those, then we can pass it on to whoever it belongs to get you guys some answers. But when you just do piecemeal of who it is, nobody really knows who you're going at, right? But if it's council.org, then we can all look at it together.
I believe my counselors listen to me. I've heard them make comment about my comment in council meeting. So I would say yes, but I guess.
I think it just depends on what your comment is. I mean, a lot of comments are emotional and a lot of comments are really solid, right? For me, we had something go before planning commission and because we make the final decision, we're really not supposed to be in planning commission, but a lot of us do watch those. And one was a concern about flooding and the other one happened to show up. And I really worked that really hard to make sure that whatever that concern was going to be met. Now, that doesn't mean that there's not going to be a development that happens. It does mean that I heard that concern and I worked really hard. You can ask Rachel. I worked really hard to make sure that there was some kind of mediation for that concern and that it was met. And a lot of council members do that. But when you just sit there and say, I don't like this, I don't want it, that's different than saying, you know what, there's a real concern here. This is a failing intersection. We need something done.
And I will say, I used to be the planning secretary and the planning commission, they take your emails and they will drive out to the site to look at it. So like that comment we had on Zoom about the big pole that blocks your vision, if you say something factual like that, the planning commission will print out your email, put it in their car, drive out, check it and go, oh, that's right. You can't see anything. I know for sure the planning commission does that. They mention that all the time in their meetings. So again, if it's just, oh, I hate this, if it's just really emotional, they're going to be like, oh, okay. Cause they can't use that as a reason, you know? Yeah. So you have to have something behind it. So when you have those facts, like the one gentleman that said all these other people use 50 West to get out of their complexes, you know, when it's facts like that, that really carries a lot of weight.
And I have to say, even though Northeast is not my neighborhood, I have gone up there and I've scouted out different projects that I hear complaints about, because even though I'm not here physically, I try to watch when we have those things online, just because you guys do have 3 active council members and we don't necessarily want 4 here at the same time. So, like I said, we do listen. A lot of us do go out and check it out and make sure that it's factual information and that it is a concern. And a lot of us really do work hard to make sure that within reason, right? I mean, it's within reason, what can be done within reason.
Okay, so I think you're armed with everything you need at this moment. Yes, one last question.
Is there a calendar for planning commission and city council that you can subscribe to?
That you can subscribe to.
There is, so on the website, let me get out of this. My computer's being really weird because I have run out of battery power and it's trying to conserve it by making everything really small. So I apologize.
While she finds her page, I
So
don't know that you can subscribe,
if
Rachel.
I don't know about subscribing.
But you can Google. I'm not impressed with
the
Provo
state
City's site in general, as far as its drivability. But I Google it and most of the pages come right up. So if you want to see Planning Commission calendar, Google it.
It'll come up. And if you are on Facebook, we have a Neighborhood District 1 Facebook page. Anytime an item that affects your neighborhood is going to the Planning Commission, I put a big notice on there. I'm like, hey, Riverside Neighborhood, an item is going to the Planning Commission that you need to pay attention to. And I kind of do a description of it. I tell you when the meeting is. I give you a link to the agenda. I will put it on the District 1 page and your individual Riverside Facebook group also. So if you're on Facebook, that's a way to see. But yeah, if you just get on the calendar.
Zoning change was a planning and all things associated with that.
Right.
Right, which is another great tool that you can Google. Same thing. And we could even ask Rachel to send out links. But I believe that's already on the Provo City Neighborhood District page.
Yes.
One of the options to click on.
Yeah, Provo Neighborhood District 1 page. That's where we put your meeting information. We put all types of information that might be of interest to you. And if you scroll down, it's this calendar where you can find Planning Commission. If you click on it, it'll bring up the agenda for that Planning Commission meeting.
But above the calendar, Rachel, is a link to the, I don't know if it's GIS, but it has all the projects that you could look up.
Right. If you go into development in Provo,
that's it.
There is a spreadsheet that I create that's updated every month that kind of tells you what's going on. And then there's also that GIS map. So
Okay.
there's links to all of
So
those.
again, armed with all the information I believe you need and an hour past our scheduled end time, thank you so much for coming. Make sure and write to the city council and the planning commission.